Bundesliga predictions, round 31.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Very Biased Opinions for our continuation of the Bundesliga. We're in the home stretch now. There's only 4 matches left to go. Yes, the title might be pretty much sewn up, but there is still plenty to play for in terms of the fight for Europe, and not to mention who's going to go down. It is an extremely exciting league. And yes, you can follow it all right here. As always, we put timestamps down in the description, and also you can follow along with the new chapters feature on the YouTube video itself, so make sure you check that out. Thank you to everybody that supports us on this channel as always, and without further ado, I don't want to delay it anymore. Thomas, crack open a bottle of your best 1899.
Because it's 1899 Hoffenheim hosting Red Bull Leipzig.
Just give me half a bottle of Blue Nun.
So once again, Tom, as I'm sure you're going to talk about, Leipzig find a way to not win a football match. They seem to love draws more than Sunderland do. But I watched Hoffenheim play a very entertaining game against Dusseldorf. It was crazy. It was like everything seemed to happen in the early throes of the game. Then they had a little bit of a rest. Then it kicked off again. And then they had a little bit of a rest at the end. Yeah, they absolutely switched off and they went a goal down. Then they went down to 10 men. Really stupid red card. I mean, Benjamin Huber, he's just come back from a red card he had. He's just come back from suspension. Elbows a guy in the face. Sent off after 9 minutes. Leaves your team playing 80 minutes with 10 men. But they did find their way back into the game. It was Dabu. Dusseldorf failed to clear a free kick. It fell to him and he finished it off nicely. Then, you know, they defended well. They didn't really look in too much trouble and were hitting them on the break. And they scored a really good goal on the break. It was Sko who got down the left-hand side, played a wonderful ball into Zuber, who must have made like 30, 40 yards to run onto it on the edge of the box and place a beautiful side foot into the bottom corner. You felt that was going to be a winner for them, but then a clumsy tackle gave Dusseldorf a chance to get the equaliser. It was a day for Hennings, and I'm sure we're going to talk about him later on. But I actually thought, you know, going into the game, they would have wanted the win because they're trying to like get up into 6th place. But when you play 80 minutes with 10 men, they showed a lot of spirit. They showed a lot of heart. I thought the 2 centre-backs, Posh and Bikasic, played well at the back. Yeah, and you know, just a good game of football. 2-2 draw, did all right. And I think that they're going to get something out of this game with Leipzig. I'm a bit sick of backing Leipzig to win and them letting me down. So I'm going to do what they normally do and back them to draw, and I think this one's going to be another 2-2 draw.
Yeah, at least it sounds exciting, because when I watch RB Leipzig, I am bored now. Die Roten Bullen have scored 71 times this year, but it seems like they bang in 10 against Mainz and then draw every other match 1-1. Somehow, they've managed to draw 4 of their last 5 matches, and then they contrived to draw with a Paderborn side that really shouldn't even be in this league. I mean, holy hell. Totally dominant, but can't score a goal. The goal they do score is Patrick Schick after an excellent move. He's carrying on his good goal-scoring record. But then they just do dumb things. Oop Amicano. Firstly, I don't know why, but I feel that name of a player needs to play in Newcastle, and people with Geordie accents need to go, Oop Amicano.
That's a Geordie accent, is it?
Yeah, it's a Geordie accent. Okay. Yeah, I'll go now.
Okay.
But he got the stupidest of red cards right before the break. Already on a yellow, petulantly kicks the ball away, picks up a second one, and they just fall apart. Timo Werner, though, let's talk about him. He's gone to Chelsea. Liverpool, Chelsea. Huge move for him. It didn't seem to.
I think it's a good move.
Yeah, and I think he'll be great there, and it gives Tammy Abraham a break as well from being the only player at the club who can score goals, and obviously it puts Olivier Giroud on the bench again, because why would we let a World Cup winner score goals for us? It's pointless. For us, am I a Chelsea fan now?
Come on, you can't seriously suggest that Giroud should start instead of Werner.
Depends how biased I'm feeling at the time. But he had a really good game. He didn't let it affect him. He does have little matches like this sometimes where he just can't find the target, but every striker does. And the mark of a good one is he'll probably go out next week and score 4. Werner, Schick, and Olmo were all really good. But Leipzig just seem to want to shoot themselves in the foot constantly. They've gone from second in the league, basically, to kind of fourth, dropping into fifth every other day, because Mönchengladbach and Leverkusen have really pushed the gas as much as they can. They've had a couple random results, but they've done really well, and they're really up high on the table. And Leipzig, if they'd won 2 of the 4 matches they'd drawn, would be clear in 3rd, but instead they're dropping down to 4th, possibly 5th. Now, I know why you're backing the draw. I just can't do it. I'm not that sold. Hoffenheim are so up and down, and to me,
been on a decent run there, Hoffenheim. That's 4 games unbeaten for them.
I know. I just think they're the 9th best club in the country, and if RB Leipzig seem to come back from draws and really want to hit. I've thought about this, right? Because Wolfsburg are 6th. Okay. Then there's Hertha in 7th, and then I'm sure there's somebody who's better than Hoffenheim in 8th. So,
what are you talking? That is absolute nonsense. Disregard that from the record.
I've got RB Leipzig to win 3-1.
Bayern Munich versus Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Right, let's talk about Die Roten, Die Reds, Bayern Munich, all conquering, conceded the least goals in the league, scored the most, and they just went out and smashed Leverkusen. I watched the match. I really like Leverkusen. They're probably my team in the Bundesliga, but scoring early was the worst possible thing they could do. The match started, and Leverkusen were like running like madmen trying to get through him, and Bayern were kind of holding him at arm's length, just being like, I can't bother with this today. No, I can't bother with this. And then they scored, and you just saw players like Müller get really fucking pissed off. And Koln, I don't know what happened, but he went absolutely nuts. So the first goal, and this is like 30 minutes into the match, Goretzka plays a fantastic ball. For some reason, Leverkusen decide to hold a high line. Koln beats all of them, takes 3 touches, has a sandwich, smokes a cigarette, goes to the loo, and then puts the ball in the back of the net. It's 1-1. Literally a couple minutes later, Goretzka gets fed the ball by Müller, pings one in from 18 yards. Goalkeeper probably should have done better. Then all of a sudden it's 3-1 in the 45th minute when Gnabry hits a perfect chip over the goalkeeper off a great Kimmich ball. And then cometh the hour, cometh the Lewandowski, as he ties his own Bundesliga record with his 30th league goal of the year. He's at 44 on the season, but he will not be playing in this match, Ian, because he picked up a yellow card for an innocuous-looking foul in the middle of the park, which means he is out of this match. Not that it makes any difference, because this Bayern side is absolutely ridiculous. Before he scored his goal in the second half, you couldn't even have told me he was on the pitch. That's how little he touched it. They were brilliant. They dominated it. They're going to win the league, and they've got to be a favorite for the Champions League. To highlight, Kingsley Coman and Davies on that left side of the pitch were absolutely unplayable. The pace of the two of them, the Leverkusen players will be having nightmares about that for years to come. And Müller and Goretzka's ability to just play beautiful passes into their teammates is nothing. Like, this club is too talented, and they're probably going to win every match at the end of the year. Gladbach are coming off a really poor loss to Freiburg. It seems like Bayern have to score 4 goals now. So I'm going to go Bayern Munich 4, Mönchengladbach 1.
Yeah, just going to say it before I go into Gladbach. I really don't like Thomas Müller. There we go. That's enough to say about that.
You biased, Ian?
I just don't like him.
That's fair enough.
I've never really liked him that much. Great player, but I just don't like the guy. Another side we talked about Leipzig, how they like to shoot themselves in the foot, as do Borussia Mönchengladbach. They love to flatter to deceive that they're going to be the side that finishes in the Champions League, and then they go and play Freiburg and put in an absolutely terrible performance. First half, they were actually pretty good, and they should have been a couple of goals up. They were almost trying to walk the ball in at times. It was too easy for them. But then start the second half, they switched off, let in a silly goal, and to do that against Freiburg is really poor, because you're just giving a side that is known for being very good defensively something to hold on to. Then the wheels came off when Player got sent off 5 or 10 minutes after the goal went in, and they just never looked like getting back into it. It was a really poor performance. We saw Bayern Leverkusen go to Freiburg. It was a difficult game, and they won 1-0. I was expecting Gladbach to turn up and do something similar, and the absolute opposite happened. They've lost 8 games this season. That's nearly a quarter of their matches. Is that a side good enough to be in the Champions League? When you have a bad result like that, you look to bounce back, but then you've got to play against Bayern Munich. So, they're not going to win this game, because Bayern have been absolutely perfect since coming back. And with growing reports of their poor financial situation, they really need to buck their ideas out if they're going to make a serious push for this Champions League. And they're going to have 3 games after this Bayern one, and they probably need to win all 3 of them. Because this one is going to go Bayern Munich's way. I do see Mönchengladbach scoring, but I'm going to go 1 less, 3-1 to Bayern.
1 full stop. FC Cologne versus 1 Full stop. FC Union Berlin.
Last week, I gave Union Berlin a really hard time. I was quite scathing of them after their match, saying they're one of the worst sides in the league. And although they managed to draw 1-1 with Schalke, who have been a train wreck so far, I actually think they played okay. And I actually do give them credit for how they've done this season. And I go back to saying that, again, we've talked with like Sheffield United, no one gave them a prayer at the start of the Premier League. No one gave this Union Berlin side any hope whatsoever of staying up. The fact that they are in such a strong position is testament to how well they've done. They probably only need 2 or 3 more points to kind of fall over the line, if you like, at the end of like a long marathon, and playing the Bundesliga again next season, which will be an amazing achievement for them. I actually thought they played quite well in this game. It's probably the best I've seen them play since the lockdown. Some of their football was actually pretty good. They look more threatening than just a side that relies on set pieces. They should have been 2 or 3 goals up, because Schalke were a mess for the first 20, 30 minutes.
Schalke were a mess.
And they really, really were. Andrich actually scored a goal. It's the first goal I think he scored this season. I think he's had the most shots of anybody without scoring a goal, so we've put that little stat to bed. It was Uja who actually broke on Schalke from their own free kick. Uja won the ball, played a ball into to Andrich, who ran into a huge gaping hole, which is where the Schalke defence should have been, but it wasn't, and finished it off nicely. Unfortunately for them, that was the one game Schalke actually picked to actually score a goal in, and we'll get to them later on in the video. But a 1-1 draw, again, they'll probably be looking to just get anything. Any point's a good point for them as they scrap for safety. I think this is going to be another draw as well. My draws have been going well for me with Cologne lately. I won predictions because of that draw. And I think this is going to be another 1-apiece draw. Thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah, it's about time you got a result correct. I'll talk about Cologne then. They had a 1-1 draw with Augsburg in their previous match, and it seemed destined for 0-0 before 2 really good goals at the end added some actual spice to the match. Rubikai cushioned a really nice header to Modesta on the edge of the box, and he just sweetly volleyed it home. It was a great finish, but classically in this sort of game, where in God's name is the marking? Why has no one stood on him? How is he being... I digress. Timo Horn actually gives away a penalty and then saves it brilliantly. He was probably Cologne's best player. Match we didn't get to cover last week when we talked about them. They lost 4-2 to Leipzig in their previous match, so they're not having a great time. I don't think they've won since the restart. They good old the Geis Boca. Odds are on also in this match that at some point Uta will win a penalty and he will then miss taking said penalty.
Oof, Thomas.
Oof. But I've got to be honest, Ian, I see a draw in this as well, but I don't see any goals. I see this ending 0-0.
Thomas, no goals makes Hannes a very angry goat. It's that time where we get to the Grandstand Betters pick of the week, because it's Hertha Berlin versus Eintracht Frankfurt.
It's time for that moment where we trust the geniuses at Grandstand Betters, who thus far have picked 4 of 5 tips correctly for us. They're looking at over 3 goals in this match. That's right, they've looked at Hertha's stats, they've looked at Frankfurt's stats, they've seen both of them shift 50 goals, and that Frankfurt almost scored 50, and they went, you know what, there will be goals in this no matter what. So put your bets on now, over 3 goals in this football match. You heard it here first, go win yourself some free money. And while you're doing that, let's talk about Frankfurt. Jesus Christ. Just when me and Ian thought they'd found form, when we thought they'd do it, they're going to push up the league, they were clearly a European side, they lose 2-0 to Mainz. To Mainz, Ian. I haven't seen Mainz complete a pass this season, let alone win a football match. It's totally unexpected. They'd taken 7 points in the previous 9. Kamada he just disappeared. I mean, this is what happens. If Kamada isn't on his game, this team cannot win. He didn't have a great game, but no one had a great game. The win over Werder earlier, which was, I think, a Wednesday match, gave them a 7-point difference over Dusseldorf. They're clearly safe now. The question is, are they going to take the rest of the season seriously, or is this really it? Are they done? Because they were pathetic against Mainz. There's not really more for me to say there. We know Hertha just had their first loss under Labbadia, but I think Hertha are better than Frankfurt right now, and I think Hertha are going to win this. I think they're going to win it 3-1.
Yeah, Hertha did. They lost 1-0 to Dortmund. It wasn't quite the classic that we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be a really entertaining game. As it turned out, Dortmund just sort of snuffed the life out of Hertha, really. They ran the legs out of them. And by the end of the game, Hertha looked absolutely shattered. Still missing Cunha, who's out with a concussion. I'm really, really glad that we do have these concussion protocols, because I just kept thinking that he would have played that game. He would have played that, like a few years ago, he would have played that game against Dortmund, even though he clearly wouldn't be fit to have played in it. So another just good thing about that. Already talked about it. Yeah, they didn't really offer much. They didn't really have too many chances, but it's not too much of a devastating loss. As I said, it's the first loss since the lockdown. They lost to Dortmund, for God's sake. They're the second best side in the league. And it just maybe shows Labbadia where they need to get to if they really want to push on and get to the next level, which they're always kind of talking about that they should be. I mean, they're a big enough club and they play in a big enough stadium that they should be pushing up the leagues and not just wandering around in the mid-table. I think this will be a much better performance, a little bit more of what we've seen in recent weeks. I don't know if Cunha is going to come back, but I'm going to assume he is. And I'm going to say it's a big win for Hertha. 3-1.
Nice.
Who scores for Frankfurt, Tom?
Kamada! FSV Mainz 05 host FC Augsburg.
So Augsburg, Thomas, were another one of those sides that needed points down the bottom. They didn't get the win, but like Union Berlin, maybe a few more draws is just going to be enough for them. They really should have won the game against Koln, though. They had so many chances, so many corners. I think they had 7 corners after 20 minutes of the game. They were all over Koln, but just couldn't score. Niederlechner, I mean, what has that guy got to do to score a goal? It's completely deserted him. He didn't play badly, that's the thing. And he came up against Timo Horn, who seemed determined to kind of keep him out. There was a weekend where a lot of guys who'd been out of goals ended their drought. Unfortunately, Niederlechner didn't get the memo on that one. It looked like it was going to be a case for Augsburg where they play really well and end up losing 1-0, but they did show the qualities to come back into the game and get the late equaliser, much to my delight. Max, who was probably one of their best players, ended off the move. It was fullback to fullback. Kramberger, the right back, put the ball over, and Max, the left back, ran onto it and scored a really good goal. Other than that, I thought, Barze looked good for Augsburg. He's got plenty of running, plenty of pace. These are at least one of the players that looked quite exciting for them. But I'm just going to say, let me say, I think Augsburg are going to win. I'm going to go with the away sides, who always seem to get the rub of the green in the Bundesliga at the moment. 2-1 win for Augsburg.
Before I start, I'm just going to say it. I've got 2-0 for Augsburg. Mainz won. They beat Frankfurt. Obviously, we just spoke about that. Shock of the day. A match where both sides missed a bunch of chances, but obviously Mainz put 2 of them away. Greatest name in the Bundesliga got the assist. Brzezinski. I mean, that's not a real name. That's what I call my friends when I'm messing around. Niakate, though, powers in Brzezinski's header. What a bro. And they get a goal basically right before half-time. And then the second goal came from the sloppiest of plays after Frankfurt just allowed Kunde to steal the ball and run through on goal and score. It's Mainz's first win since the break. It probably, I think it's about 4 points difference between them and Dusseldorf, which is a bit of breathing space finally. Interesting fact for you Liverpool fans, Taiwo Awoniyi, I believe is how you say his name, started up front for Mainz and had a pretty decent game. I don't like this Mainz team. They have the worst defensive record in the league. Obviously, Augsburg have the 3rd worst defensive record in the league, and they both score goals, so you've got goals coming here. And I said 2-0. I'm changing that. I'm going 3-2 Augsburg.
Wow, classic. A Bundesliga classic.
Indeed.
And let's move on to a game which probably won't be a classic. VfL Wolfsburg versus SC Freiburg.
Die Wölfe, they managed a narrow victory over Bremen this weekend, 1-0. Finally, Weghorst got a goal. Like you said, a lot of the big strikers in the Bundesliga that hadn't hit form yet all scored this weekend. First goal since March the 1st. Obviously, there's the stoppage, but that's still a solid 3 months without a goal. It's his 12th one of the season. Klaus crossed it in. Weghorst gets across his defender. Near post, heads it in from 6 yards. Celebrates like he's just won the World Cup.
I tell you what, in the game, because it was sort of it looked like the sort of game where he wasn't going to get a goal, because it was he was just a ball would go in and he'd just slide and miss it, or a shot would get deflected wide, and he was going mad. I think he would have had a nervous breakdown if he didn't get that goal.
they won it, and it's big. They're clearly the sixth best side in the country, and Babu was really good in the build-up, and I think we've highlighted him 3 or 4 straight weeks for his good play. Even when they lose, he looks good.
Solid. Really sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Yeah, we've talked about it enough.
But they
enough
set
of
up really...
Babu, enough.
Sit down, and Babu, we're done with you. They set up really negatively, though. They really are. There is a cutoff from 5th to 6th place in the league, and it's not just a points drop-off. It's the way you see them play. And Wolfsburg have had some good results against the top teams, but they're not quite good enough to take the step up. One player you highlighted to me after the game that I'd highlighted a couple times before that is John Brooks at center back for Wolfsburg. Just really solid defender, really good player, holds the line really well, big tackles, and you like him.
Delight in tackling John Sargent.
Literally,
no, he really did. It was like he seemed to like go in with like extra force. Like while he was tackling Josh Sargent.
I'll see you at camp, boy.
Yeah.
Wolfsburg right now are on a kind of win-loss thing, but I don't trust this Freiburg side, and the fact that they won a game to me doesn't mean they're going to win again, nor did I think that their result was like too fantastic or amazing. So I think I've got to go with a Wolfsburg victory here. They don't ship a lot of goals, though, so this could be an actual clean sheet we could see. I'm going to go 2-0 to Wolfsburg.
It's really tough. It's so difficult just because Wolfsburg is so unpredictable. Like again, and that just makes it so hard. They are on this win-loss. Freiburg had a really good win against Gladbach, but I was only really impressed with the second half performance, and they only seemed to play well once they took the lead. First half, they didn't even seem like interested, didn't even seem like they were in the game, which is what we've seen from Freiburg. And I've always been surprised they were so high in the league. But then when they got the goal, which came from Peterson, who came off the bench and scored with pretty much his first touch, why is he not starting games? I had no idea why. They looked a completely different side. You had like these players like Grifo and Holler, who were very sort of like in and out of the game at the start. Once they had a lead to protect, all of a sudden their energy levels went through the roof. They're running back, chasing, getting tackles in. We saw reasons in that second half performance for why they are so high in the league and why they have been so hard to beat, because they were extremely dogged. I thought Robin Koch playing in centre midfield, he looked a lot better than when I've seen him play at centre back, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's a position where he plays for the rest of the season. And they should have won by more. They had the better chances in that second half. They were a little bit wasteful. And I'm going to back Freiburg, Tom. This is going to probably
madness.
This is probably what is going to decide predictions this week. But I'm going for another Freiburg win, 1-0.
Fortuna Dusseldorf hosting Borussia Dortmund.
So Dusseldorf, Thomas, down the bottom of the league, desperate for points. They've only lost one game since coming back from the break, and that was when they got absolutely battered last week against Bayern Munich. But they just cannot find wins. These draws are killing them. The draw against Paderborn, they should have won. The draw against Koln, where they conceded 2 goals in the last few minutes, they should have won. And this one, they played against 10 men for 80 minutes, and they could only find a draw. And they had to come back from 2-1 down to get that draw as well. Good news for them, Tom. Hennings is back in the goal.
Hennings watch, baby.
Hennings watch is there. The first one was a really good header. He got the penalty as well. So they will really need his goals, you would think, if they're going to get the points. This week's made it really difficult for them. The win for Mainz, followed with the fact that they couldn't get the win themselves, just means that they're really struggling. I think they've still got to play Dortmund. I think they've still got to play Leipzig as well. So they've got tough fixtures in there too. So all in all, the point doesn't really help them. They'll be looking for people like Tommy, people like Struger, who do look like they're good offensive players to come in and sort of try and provide them with more goals, because they don't look like they can keep clean sheets, that's for sure. And this is going to be one. This is pretty similar to the game against Bayern. This is going to be a damage limitation. I do feel a bit sorry for Uwe Rosler, because I do think he's doing a good job. But I see Dortmund winning this one 3-0.
I've got Dortmund winning this 5-0. They got a 1-0 win over Hertha. It was a pretty boring game. Dortmund kind of grew into as it went. They still don't have Haaland. I think he's got a knee injury, but it still doesn't sound that serious. Emre Can got the goal. A really good goal, running up a brilliant move involving Sancho and Brandt. Sancho, Can, Hakimi, Guerrero. It's the same Dortmund that you do with Bayern. You just list all their players every match and go, everyone had a really good game. I am just going to state that Dortmund seem to be doing their absolute best to not keep Jadon Sancho. I don't know if he's agreed a transfer somewhere or what, but like they're like trying to get rid of him. They're fining him for getting haircuts and this stuff, and yeah, he probably shouldn't have done that. But you also probably shouldn't fine him for it, because it shows how just heartless you can be as a club. And you've already shipped out a bunch of players and brought in a bunch of new ones and remodeled the club, and you're still not beating Bayern. Do you really want to get rid of one of the greatest talents you're given? I don't know, it baffles me, and this Dortmund side baffle me, but they're way too good to not beat Dusseldorf. They're going to score 5. The only blot on their record since we came back is a loss to Bayern. Other than that, they've won every single match. 5-0, Dortmund win.
SC Paderborn 0-7 versus Werder Bremen.
Paderborn. They're not even the kings of the draw because of Leipzig's insane ability to draw matches, but they have the second worst defense in the league. And yet, since the restart, I think they've lost 1 and drawn like 4 or something absolutely ridiculous. They picked up the least of likely points against the other draw specialist in the league, Leipzig, with a 1-1 draw. Who saw that coming? 4 draws in their last 5 matches, right? They actually had more shots than Leipzig, but it was a bit like playing FIFA and just trying to ping the ball from 30 yards. They weren't great shots. They weren't high-quality looks. They would shoot from anywhere they could. Somehow Leipzig just didn't kill the game off, and they managed to just hold on to hope. They got an equalizer in injury time. Captain Strodeijk, I think it's Strodeijk, got the goal from a corner, which Leipzig failed to clear. Proder, Vasilibus. Why is everyone's name hard today? And Zingerl all had decent games. It was a good point for Paderborn, but they'd have to win all 4 of their next matches and hope for like all hell to freeze over. And I don't think they will. They're coming up against a Werder side who'd looked really good for 3 matches, and then just, they've lost the last 2 4-0 basically. But I just get the sneaking suspicion that Bremen will win this. I don't think Paderborn are good enough for it, and Werder are definitely going to be up for it. This is one of the games we highlighted earlier that they have to win. I've got Werder winning this 1-0.
No. I'm not having it. I'm absolutely done with Werder Bremen. What a terrible week for a side. You had a chance to build on all the momentum that you gained from 3 great results, and you play, not only do you lose these 2 home games, you play so negatively in them as well. Absolutely shocking. The 3-0 defeat to Frankfurt. I mean, they conceded 1 goal and then they just threw the towel in. Absolutely, completely capitulated in that game. And then against Wolfsburg, they completely set up not to lose. Just literally going into the game, hoping to get a 0-0 draw about it or nick a sneaky goal and end up losing 1-0. And deserved to lose as well. This is a side that should be better than that. They've got better players than that. And this is like a side that's got a proud history of like 39 years in the Bundesliga or something like that. They're like a founding member. Is this how they should be playing? Is this how you want your side to play? Werder Bremen fans going down with a whimper without even giving a fight? Look, they didn't offer against Wolfsburg. Their best chances were Sarko had a shot from range, which was pretty easily saved. Josh Sargent probably was unlucky. A shot came to him, and it was Maximilian Arnold who did a brilliant block to stop him from scoring. But the tactics, I mean, like Florian Kohfeldt, he comes out and he's got like always bubbly and saying how I'm really positive, and then he sets them up like that. I mean, what is the message he's sending to his players? And they're absolutely screwed now with these sides winning. They've probably got to win 3 out of the last 4 games. They've got a pitiful home record where they've only won 1 game at home all season. And they've got to play, and their next home game is against Bayern Munich. So these games now are really, really must win. I mean, I like Gabri Selassie, I like Josh Sargent. I think they're pretty good players, but everybody else is not taking any risks. They're literally just sitting behind the ball, and though Josh Sargent especially is so isolated up there. Yeah. He's like running up against like 5 defenders and no one's supporting him. When you don't have Bittencourt and when you don't have Rashica, they don't look like they're going to offer anything. I don't know whether those players are going to be back for this game, and I'm sick of backing them. I'm not backing them to win this one. I think I'm actually going to back another draw. I think Paderborn are good enough to get a draw in this one. I think it's going to be 1 apiece.
FC Schalke 04 versus Bayer 04 Leverkusen.
It's nice to actually not talk about a Schalke defeat for once. Yes, hallelujah. Schalke didn't actually lose the game against Union Berlin. They managed to get a 1-1 draw. But they did go 1-0 down. And as I talked about it, the first 20, 25 minutes, they were all over the place. And how they were only 1-0 down is beyond me. They needed something special. They got something special. John Joe Kenny rifled in an arrow of a shot from about 25 yards. That's ex-Oxford United's John Joe Kenny, folks. He channeled his inner 2016 where he won promotion with Oxford United in that one. And it definitely screamed of Ancelotti, please come and rescue me from this garbage side. But as with Union Berlin, I actually thought this was the best I saw Schalke play. It's probably because both the sides are pretty poor and they were able to play some relatively very, very inverted commas decent football in it, but they look so toothless. They look so poor going forward. They don't look like scoring. I thought Rabbi Matondo, at least he's the one player who offers them something exciting. He's a 19-year-old Welsh forward. He's erratic as hell, but at least he is a spark of life in that side. But I'm not going to bag on Schalke too much. They needed something to stop the bleeding, and I actually thought their back line got to grips with Union Berlin and were okay at the end. It's a very young back line. They were dominated at the start, but then they sort of they came to terms with it and they weren't outdone. They kind of like rose to the physical battle, and I thought Nubel was excellent in goal. He's going to be a loss for them because he looked a really, really solid keeper. Made good saves, came out, commanded the area, was good. Yeah. But Schalke fans, I hope you enjoyed not losing a game because it's going to be back to losing. I'm afraid you're coming against Leverkusen. Leverkusen are going to be too good for you, and it's probably going to be quite nasty. I think it's going to be. I hate it. 4-0 Leverkusen.
Yeah, I'm copying that score, Ian. It's going to be 4-0 Leverkusen. So they were absolutely battered by Bayern 4-2. Like I said in my commentary on the Bayern match, they angered the beast when they went 1-0 up. Baumgartlinger, fantastic chip over the top to Ilaria, who's played onside by Davies, who finishes really well on Neuer's near post. Then Wirtz gets a goal near the end to make it 4-2, making him the youngest scorer ever in the Bundesliga. But oh my God, Leverkusen. I'm all about sticking to your guns, playing your style of football, but you cannot play a high-line, possession-based football against Bayern Munich. Are you an idiot? It was the worst match plan I've ever seen. You've got no Kai Havertz to randomly just stroke the ball home every game. They should have set up more defensively, and they didn't. Diaby had his first match where I was just like, what in God's name is going on? You can see why PSG sold him, because sometimes he does this great approach play, beats 2 or 3 players, and then when you're looking for that final pass, he just shoots from 35 yards. On fast breaks, just pings it over and over again, thrashes it. I mean, one of those shots must have gone out of the stadium. It was terrible. That being said, this is a really good side. Just because you lose 4-2 to Bayern doesn't mean you're not. And they had moments, especially the first 20 minutes of the first half and the end of the second half, where you went, this is a really good side. They set up the same way Schalke do in a 3-4-3, but they can actually score and they don't concede a lot. So I'd actually be really wary of being Schalke in this match. And I think Leverkusen have kind of been up and down. And after this Bayern result, are really going to want to win. Havertz was injured in training, missed the match. There are 2 rumors going around about him. One is that Real Madrid had bid 71 million. And the rumor in Germany on the day was that Bayern had a bid accepted for him and were signing him later. Obviously, neither of these have come true. Boschball will be back. 4-0 Leverkusen win.
It's an exciting league. I love doing it. I really, really have enjoyed doing the Bundesliga. I've enjoyed it far more than I thought I was going to. We really do appreciate every view that we get on these videos. Please continue to hit that like button because that helps us out so much. And if you do like these videos, hit that subscribe button and hit the notify bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Go check out Grandstand Betters to win yourself some cash. And I know he's not keen on our tagline, so I'm just going to throw it over to Thomas and see what he says. Do you have anything else to add?
Yes, I do, because you did the introduction, not me, so we didn't get a chance to thank everybody who commented last time on our video. So thank you, Darren Warburton. Everyone had a hard week last week. There were a lot of random results. Thank you.
I didn't.
Shut up, Ian. No one likes you.
You're rubbish, Darren Warburton.
Thank you.
In my shadow.
Christopher Smith, Alexander Allen, Marlon, John Goodgame. We keep calling you out. Sorry?
We're all losers, Tom.
Yes. Johnny talks Bundesliga. It's been another rough week in the Bundesliga for everyone. Well done. You calm down, all right? Thorben Barrett, great prediction. Shane O'Donnell as well. Radmuta Madhu Shanka. Again, thank you. You've been watching all our videos. We really appreciate it. You got some great predictions out there. You need to pipe down in the back. Roberto Hollis, thank you very much. Everyone who keeps liking, subscribing, every time you guys do it, it makes us happy. It makes you happy. And with that said, we wish you much love. Stay safe, and we'll catch you at the next one.